Well, hi everybody, and we are back with another episode. We're going to keep doing these because we had so much fun last week of
Absolutely.
charts and cards in black and white with me, Louise Eddington, and my friend Erica Robinson. And I'm very grateful to say that I received my cards in the post today. Erica's Lenormand cards in this beautiful little tin. So I've only just opened them. So I'm not the card reader yet, but I'm going to be playing with them. They're so cute. And the tin is just gorgeous. So I might practice pulling a couple and see what they say, but we'll see. So anyway, welcome back, Erica.
Thank you.
And
Good to be here.
yeah, and I think both of us would like to address kind of the nature of divination, which in a way, both astrology and definitely the cards are as well. And a comment that we received on my YouTube that thank you for the lesson of how much the reader's bias impacts the outcome of a reading, not to say wishful thinking. Now, I've re-listened to last week and yeah, there was a few details we got wrong, but I think the main point we did was that it was going to be a turning point, the debate. And I think we can see that it's a turning point. I'll admit I did not speak enough to the fact that Saturn stationing on Biden's, the bottom of his chart, was a real downer on energy and health. And there were a couple of other things I could have spoken to around his health. So, I could have said he's not going to have the energy. I could have noticed that. I was more focused on the other guy. So, yes, perhaps that was my bias a little bit, but I think we're all biased in a way. And it also depends on the question asked. What would your
Well,
take
I
be
would,
on all
I
of
would,
that?
I would also speak to the idea of mutability and
Hmm.
that cards are, at least cards. I mean, I can't speak to astrology, but certainly cards are what I call a snapshot in the moment. They show
Hmm.
a trajectory.
Yep.
The fact is that we also have free will and things
Hmm.
happen. And I don't know, maybe somebody took a NyQuil instead of a DayQuil. Um,
Hmm.
and so nothing is written in stone. These
Yep.
are trajectories and
And
I think,
astrology is as well. It's trajectory. That's why I'm not really a predictive astrologer. In my personal readings, I don't give definitive predictions because one of my favorite astrologers, Stephen Forrest, well known, said that you only hear about it the 50% of the time. They got it pretty right.
people come to me for predictive readings, of course, but I would not say ever that what I am doing for you is a definitive.
Exactly.
There's no such thing. There's no
No,
such thing. Things turn on a dime. So
they
we do
do.
and,
And
and
and especially with, well, in life in general, but especially with big things like this, there's so many pieces and
right.
players that can affect it. It's you cannot predict exactly. But I would
What do we
agree. I
like to
would
say? What do we always say on YouTube? For entertainment purposes only.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think anybody listening today would agree that that debate was a turning point. We're not actually going to go into what might come of the debate at this point. We might do later, we'll see, but we've decided not to at the moment. So I personally would like to speak to a couple of things that are coming out about um, 45 since since this Supreme Court decision. And I know Eric has already done a deep dive on the Supreme Court decision as well, the immunity case. But I would say, even, would you agree, Erica, that even the immunity case decision is cause for confusion as well, because they haven't defined what are official duties and what are not.
No, but I think that, oh,
You okay?
Yeah, your screen went away and I don't know what that.
Oh, oh,
Um, I think, sorry,
it's all right.
I think that, what did you ask me about? This,
Um, the Supreme Court decision on the immunity, they didn't
oh, they
define.
didn't, right, they didn't, right. But I think that their purpose was several fold in that decision. I think that the two big purposes were to delay, which is
Mhm.
now why Chutkin has to get a shovel and dig through everything they asked her to dig through. Delay, which is of course to help 40,
Oh, absolutely.
and then also to sort of put a flag in the sand
Uh-huh.
and make the case, not make the case, um, declare that we are now an imperial state.
Yeah.
So I think that all the rest of it is muddying details
Oh,
and
well, it is,
to
and
keep our eye on the
that
big
I
picture.
think that's deliberate on their part.
It is deliberate,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But to get into some of the detail, Amy Coney Barrett did actually disagree with a part of the decision, even though she voted in favor of it. So we were partly right about that last week, and
You know what, I will say this, and this
hmm
is actually in response to your commenter.
hmm
I think that all of us want to believe the best about people
yeah,
and institutions.
yeah,
So, I will say, in terms of her, I wish that I had stuck to my initial disgust
mm
at
hmm
her elevation. I
hmm
think she's very smart. I definitely think she's very smart. I
hmm
think she's very good at the granular stuff. I think
hmm
she's quite the academic. I would not take that away from her. But I
And
think,
she did vote on the right side for something environmental as well, didn't she? So
well, again, and
yeah,
it's been
yeah.
because of some technical reason. Is
Oh,
that
oh, absolutely,
so? I
absolutely.
don't give anybody, including her, I don't give
Mhm.
her a pass on
No.
any level because I think she is as in the pocket of the Heritage Foundation and
Oh,
everybody else
I
as the
yeah.
rest of them are. And I think we want so badly for
hmm
this thing to not be as bad as it is, and
Yeah,
for them to not be as bad as they are.
yeah.
But the bottom line is, including her, they are.
They are, I would agree. And, I still stand by the fact that she's probably the only one that will occasionally be the rogue, if you like. But as you said,
Probably, I
not
would,
on the big matters.
yeah, I don't think it would be ideological if she did. I think it would be more
No, no, no.
academic.
Yeah.
That
hmm
would be what she would hang her hat on. Again, because
Yeah.
she's very smart, and I appreciate that attention to the law, but I don't want to get confused on any level and think, ooh,
She's not going to save us. I don't
no,
think she's
she's
going to
not going to
save us
save us.
at all. No, no. No, I agree. And she could even have been put in deliberately to occasionally make us think that she will
Exactly.
go.
Exactly. As I wrote in my Substack today, there are wheels within wheels. Nothing
Oh,
is as it appears.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But we are in the US, and if you're not in the US and you do not support the uh, democracy, then you're welcome to watch our videos, but I will not tolerate any comments. I'm afraid. I take the approach of Marianne on Revealing Light. I am not against blocking and deleting comments. You're allowed your opinion. It's my space. So,
Well
so
said.
that's just fair warning. We are both on the side of democracy. We've agreed we are not actually the biggest fans of Joe Biden, but he's the better option. So no matter what. So today we are not going to look at what happened in the debate. I personally would love to look at a couple of things that have come out about Trump. And I know his base doesn't care, but I guess my question I'd love to explore would be to see what the cards and the astrology say about more kind of confirmation, really, of who he is coming out. The first one I saw was that Trump's plane was not only parked next to a Russian government plane, but also a United Emirates Air Force plane. They were all three parked in a line within Wi-Fi distance of each other, so they wouldn't even have to leave the planes to talk to each other. And the other thing is that Trump's repeatedly named in newly unsealed Epstein grand jury documents multiple messages left by Trump Epstein in between girls calling to confirm massage appointments. It comes from a number that was referenced in the Roger Stone case as Trump's residence number in New York. So, I just wonder if that will have any effect, because I did see that Saturn stationing retrograde square to his lunar nodes and his eclipse, and I still think that's a turning point for him in some way. Last
So
week we talked about the documents case, but yeah.
I think that he is pure, the pure unadulterated expression of evil.
Hmm.
I'm going to say that. And I don't mean it in a hyperbolic way. Not just that he's a bad guy, but that things always land in his way.
Oh,
And there's something evil about that, right? So at any rate, I have to use all my cards. So I looked at, well, I'm going to look at one question at a time. And the first question that
yeah,
I wanted to look at had to do with the plane. So
yeah.
you'll think this is funny, but in Lenormand, this is a 19th century, early 19th century oral, yeah, oracle. And so they don't have planes back then, but
Oh, yeah.
they have ships. So the ship,
Aha.
for our purposes, will be the focus card for what was his plane doing there with those
Mm,
particular other planes.
yeah.
So the cards that I have are the fish,
Mm,
the garden,
mm,
the ship in the middle,
uh-huh.
clouds,
Ooh,
and book. So if you ever you know that sometimes criminals will commit crimes in full view, in
yeah,
daylight. And
yeah,
that's because they understand human psychology, right? If you're not expecting to see somebody get murdered then you're not looking for it really.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so this has to do with money, as we know, because it's
Mhm.
Russia and it's Saudi Arabia. Um, it was in plain view. I mean, believe me, none of these three entities are saying, "Oh my God, they caught us." We're on
Oh
no
God, no.
in plain view because the garden is sort of everything external to your what goes on behind your closed doors of your house. So this is out in full view. And
Hmm.
then we have clouds. Now, clouds are meant to be, expression that this is to sort of confuse the public,
Yeah,
to obfuscate, to just throw a monkey wrench in. And then it is a money deal. We don't know the details, but we're not meant to know because the book is about things you don't know, things that are hidden.
hmm,
So
hmm.
there are financial dealings, and again, financial writ large, right? Business stuff that
Yes,
obviously culminates in money going in somebody's pocket. But
yeah.
these deals and and they thought they were being clever by doing it in plain sight. Because then people would say, well, of course it's nothing. I mean, of course it's coincidence or whatever. Because why would he do that in plain sight? Well,
Yeah,
that's the plan.
yeah. That really kind of makes sense.
Mm.
And funnily enough, as I was playing with your cards, I first pulled clouds, but I
Everything is about obfuscation and
yeah,
confusion and delay and, but now I'm going to look at the Epstein piece.
yeah.
For that, I'm going to look for the letter because the letter will stand for these telephone logs or, because it's their paper.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm going to look for the letter and okay, so well, I mean, look, it's not going to hurt him. I mean, the key is sort of, I love the key. I think of it as the uh, fraternal twin of the sun card. It's that
Mm.
good because it opens doors, it answers questions. And then we have the star, the letter in the middle, the dog, and the house. Now, again, these logs were of it was he was unmarried at the time. This is before his marriage to Melania.
Yeah.
After his marriage to whatever Marla Maples. And so he will just say he was a friend. We took trips together. Um,
Mm.
I went to parties. In other words, this will not affect him a single bit because he will
Oh.
spin it as being sort of, this is how things are done. And of course, we're all horrified, but this is nothing new for us. And his base, even those of his base who don't like him, will tell
Mhm.
themselves, well, if we're the Christo fascist right, he's the Antichrist. So he can be as bad as he wants to be.
Oh,
He is a
yeah.
means to an end. He will usher in the coming of Christ. So that he can be as bad as he wants to be, and they'll just say, "Well, that's what the Antichrist does." So
Well,
essentially, I mean, for sort of prurient reasons, we will all be fascinated, but it will not affect him one bit. It won't move the needle one way or the other.
wow. That's oh wow. Amazing. I still have an intuitive feeling though that something else is going to come out that won't move the needle for them, but it's just too bad for some people. Now, he was born on an eclipse, so that really does explain his kind of Teflon kind of energy,
Mhm.
his ability to be able to literally a full moon eclipse he was born on with Uranus conjunct his sun and North Node. That really does kind of explain a lot of his ability to he uses neurolinguistic um, um, programming, NLP, in his voice, whether he does it consciously or not, to really kind of almost hypnotize people. He's got this ability to hypnotize people with his words and things. And but this Saturn squaring all of this is unusual, especially the fact that Saturn stationed retrograde conjunct Nessus, which the Centaur Nessus reveals patterns of abuses of power in a big way. I still have a feeling something's going to come out. Shall I show you the cards I pulled for the first question with the
Sure.
planes? I actually put the ship in the middle, like you said.
Okay.
Okay, then to this side, to the left, I've got, I presume that's him, the man,
Could be.
maybe,
Could
or
be.
or the fox. We kind of got that for Joe Biden last week, didn't
Well,
we? The cunning.
yeah. So I will say that the people cards are more often than not, unless you intend them to be a person,
Uh-huh.
they
Okay.
be more an energy
Okay. Hmm.
than anything. So, okay, so those are your three cards. Is that what you pulled three?
Well, th those I put two to the left side of the ship. Then I got the fish in the side as well.
Okay, so this is the first question about the money.
The and the
Okay,
planes, yeah.
so the planes.
Yeah,
So what is the
yeah.
line again? Read me the line.
Well,
In
fox,
order.
man, then ship in the middle, then scythe, then fish.
Okay, so when we look at the cards at the very end, each end,
Mm.
you
Uh-huh.
have which ones? You have the, is it, what is that? What, and it's fox and scythe,
Fox and fish.
fox and fish. So the
Mm.
fox, each card has multiple meanings, but
Yeah.
I take the more nefarious meaning here for fox.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
good, slick, sly. Um,
They're being cunning and sly,
yes,
not
and
yeah.
it's money. It's about money. And then the
Uh-huh.
two cards on the other side of the fish, I mean, and the on either
The
end.
man and scythe.
So this, if this could easily be him, and the scythe is a decision, so he could have been
Mm.
there to seal a deal or something like that. But remember that a scythe is a dual purpose instrument. So it
Mhm.
cuts, it does cut, and that makes it the decision card. But it also has a curve in the blade. So
Mhm.
it's the reaping card. So he
Yeah.
was there to reap, to make a decision about reaping. Reap what?
Wow.
Money. And the fox tells you, the fox kind of backs up what I thought was going on, which is this
Mhm.
criminal activity in plain sight.
Oh,
Like, what
it's
do you mean?
it's
We have to
mobster
do a deal
stuff, isn't it? It's
in a corner somewhere. No, it was
yeah.
all in plain sight to just throw.
Yeah. This is pure open mob
Yes.
activity.
Well, and not only is it mob
Yeah.
activity, it's now been approved.
Yeah.
The stamp of approval.
So is anybody surprised that their planes were seen after the decision? I think so, So anyway, wow, amazing. Although I'm not surprised that the phone calls will bring nothing.
Nothing.
But there's the filing by the young girl that said he raped her violently way back when is also out on Twitter again. I think that's been out before. She withdrew her complaint because she had to, um, because I guess threatened by, but it's he's named in that as really violently raping and
Well,
things.
she withdrew the complaint though.
Yeah, but could she re-complain? I don't know.
I mean, I can look at this. Now, what I would do
Mm,
in that case is I would look for her. So she is the younger woman in the deck.
she was very young at the time, I believe.
So here she is. Um,
14.
well, so I have the moon, I have the anchor.
Mm,
Here she is in the middle. Again, we have the fox
mm,
and we have the scales card. Now, this is not the scales of justice, as
mm.
you see, right? I had my artist create me for me a scales. I asked her to evenly weight them, but have money on the one side, daisies on the other. She has had to weigh um, sort of doing her duty as a citizen, we'll call it, by
Hmm.
coming forth over and against the harm that it could do her. Uh,
Yeah.
and by harm, I mean, well, literal
Any harm, really?
harm,
Yeah.
not the least of which would be reputational. So these two
Yeah.
cards are mirroring each other. And then we have the anchor and the fox mirroring each other, which is to say she's stuck now.
Mm,
Which is why she withdrew the complaint. She's stuck there because people are up to no good. I
yeah.
don't know if you know, but Stormy Daniels is going to be on Rachel Maddow for
I
it's a 2 hour thing. She is such a courageous
Oh,
person,
she's so ballsy. Yeah.
right? And I mean,
Amazing.
what is the definition of courage? It's not about not being afraid, it's
No.
it anyway in the
Yeah,
face.
she's terrified. I know
Mhm.
that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so I think that this young woman who may not be so young anymore, has done a sort of a cost benefit analysis and
Yeah.
decided that it's too much. It's not worth it.
Wow, I don't blame her. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other news that's come up though since last week for us, amongst all this other news, is that his sentencing is now delayed
Mhm.
till September the 18th, and that is definitely a Saturn station retrograde going in his favor. Because it's Saturn is time, it's delayed because Saturn's going to go backwards and retrograde for quite some time.
Calling it
Um,
Saturn retrograde, I'm going to call it straight evil because,
oh,
I mean, have you heard of this where you get convicted and then you're out, you're not jailed, and then
mhm.
you get your sentence. Like most people, when they appeal, they go to jail and then they sit there in their
Yeah.
jail while
Oh
the
yeah.
lawyers are doing the appeal. So, I mean, again, there is a cabal, and this is what I call
Hmm.
it in my Substack article today. There is a cabal here, and um, it might be. I mean, this whole case could fall apart
Mm.
because I guess the theory would be, well, if what he did was okay, why would you sentence somebody for something that
Hmm.
it's not a crime?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. Yeah.
I mean,
Uh, yeah.
uh, again,
Should.
because there's all we know is that they put it off and that the prosecutor or the judge or whatever agreed to,
Hmm.
to put it off. Um, I can look to see will he be sentenced eventually for this?
We can have a look. I just kind of September the 18th, I'll look at the astrology too, but I was going to suggest as well as doing that, I was going to suggest having a quick look, and we can keep looking at it, about who is the puppet master behind all of this cabal.
Well, I think
It's obviously a collective, but I think
it's a
Putin
collective.
is behind a lot of it.
I
So,
think it's a collective, and I think that they've all agreed to put aside their whatever their own rabid cause is for the
mm,
sake of the collective. And they have, in a very systematic way, over the course of decades, plotted and planned and been incredibly patient for such a time as this.
mm.
That's what I think.
Oh, I think they have
I mean, they,
too.
they seem like they're a bunch of Yahoo, uneducated, but that's not true. Mm.
Hmm.
This is, I
Oh
mean, it's
no, not at
systematic.
all. It's
Uh,
very systematic, and they've been putting it in place for decades. I mean, we have to remember that the two, they're all bad, but the Republican Supreme Court justices, Alito and Clarence Thomas, were put in under the bushes. So,
well, yes, and of course they should have recused themselves, but who's going to recuse
mhm.
themselves if they don't have to? You know.
Yeah,
And
exactly,
by the way,
exactly.
another sword I will fall on for your
Hmm.
viewer
Hmm.
has to do with Roberts. I think a lot
Mm.
of us felt that that Roberts would, above all, because he's the Chief Justice, be concerned with the reputation and integrity of the court. Wrong,
Mm.
wrong, 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 wrong.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who is behind all of this? I think it is a collective. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's a moneyed collective. I think they call all the
Hmm.
shots, and not just the Supreme Court ones. I think that it's all
Oh, no,
down
no.
ballot down to like who's going to
School
run the
boards.
school board. Yep.
It's school boards in this state for sure, and a lot of states now.
Yep.
It's terrible.
I mean,
It's
the
just.
real question is, I think that the Democrats have been caught flat-footed here. That's what I think,
Mhm.
because we haven't operated the way they operate.
Yeah,
Uh,
they couldn't imagine it,
no, no,
really.
and,
Yeah.
and that's naive. Well, it's kind of like Uncle Joe coming into office thinking that he was going to just sort of, because he'd been there so long,
Mm.
just reach his hand across the aisle. That's the old way. It doesn't work
Yeah.
like that anymore.
No.
What we could look at, I think would be interesting,
Mm.
instead of who, because it's a cabal, it
Yeah.
would be whether there can be an equal and opposite reaction to it
Mm.
from the other side. I mean, that's the question. that's the only thing that will save democracy as we like to think of it.
Well, to look at the astrology, I will go back to these planetary stations retrograde and kind of Saturn particularly Saturn, because Saturn really is man-made laws and really our institutions and structures and so on. And we can see that when Pluto went through Capricorn, which is Saturn ruled, it was all kind of revealed all the shadow and started to fall apart. I think Saturn gradually retrograding through Pisces may encourage them to toughen up, but I hope so. Will it be enough? I don't know. I'll let you pull some cards on that while I just have a quick look at a couple of other things. I might get the USA chart up actually while you do that.
Right. And this was actually kind of the subject of my Substack, but
Yeah, which everybody should go and read. Well, everybody that's interested.
that's interesting, exactly. So I did a poll. It's a different kind of a spread. And so I'm going to say something that will mean nothing, but it helps me. The
Yes.
sun in the house of the lily, the heart in the house of the cross, clouds in the house of the young man, and then the sun mirrors the young man. So what does that mean? Well, sun in the house of the lily. And I talk about the sun in Substack. It's very important for us to understand that the sun is a beautiful card. It's lovely when it pops up. They say in tarot and Lenormand it's the best card in the deck, etc. But it's not just that it's heat, it's also light. And it shows, it casts light on things. Now, I love the lily. It's one of what I call the 3 happiness cards in the deck, but it's a certain kind of happiness. It's a contented, peaceful, mature kind of happiness. And so it's as though this is going on. See, the background's dark. This is the Democrats. And now, oh, somebody turned on the flashlight. And
Yeah.
um, so everything is now lit large. Okay. Now, the result of that, of course, for the Democrats is essentially, I mean, heartbreak, pain,
Yeah.
agony. This is, of course, a religious symbol. Why? Because it was an instrument of torture. It's also a sign of sacrifice. So, and I wrote about this today. It's very funny that the cards will say use different cards to give the same message. To
Yes.
the degree that we have as Democrats been kind of Pollyanna about America, like we pledge allegiance with stars in our eyes. We stand for the when there's the Star Spangled Banner at a ball game or whatever. We have very romantic, idealized ideas about this shining city on a hill that America is. Mind you, despite what we've exported to both ourselves and the rest of the world, we've never actually been that. But
Yes.
anyway, it's an impression, it's a vision, it's what we grow up in. It's like when you're Black, like I am, and people and you say something is racist, and people say, "Oh, racism's not a thing anymore," and you're like,
Oh.
okay, because you're living. It's like there is an ignorance that this kind of love requires that must be cultivated.
Yeah.
It's going to be cultivated and nurtured because otherwise, how could it exist in the face of everything that's really real?
Yeah.
So that naivete has got to be sacrificed. It's got to be given up. It can't go on because we're playing t-ball and somebody else is playing Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
right? We're still playing t-ball. Now, unfortunately, we have the clouds. Clouds are about doubts, and there are doubts still. And this is why I say the energy is mutable and things are in flux. This is just a snapshot in the moment. And the past 48 hours have been just intense, right? So,
Oof.
so there's doubts as to whether we can man up in this particular kind of yang way. This
Yeah.
is the young man, right? And he's the kind of guy that believes, and of course he's mirroring the sun, this hopeful sun. He's the kind that believes that everything is possible. All things are doable. The country can be remade.
Hmm.
Um, but again, not without first this taking place.
With waking up to the
Yes,
delusion.
exactly.
And I would say that Neptune in Pisces long journey has shown up that delusion and the illusion that it's the, the most best country in the world.
Right.
And I, as an immigrant, I always am wary of saying that because I've been told to go back where I come from.
No, no, no. But I mean, we exported this idealized version of ourselves that would be lovely, but we've never been that. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got the founders who talk about a more perfect union. It's a beautiful phrase.
Mhm.
So then how can you have originalists on the court? How can
Yeah.
originalists exist? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right? How are we going to be a more perfect union if we're going to go to the 1700s to
Yeah.
figure out how to do things? So I think that the one good thing that has come out of all this mess is, and I've used this in the Substack too, but I've used it many times in my writing. There's a
Mm.
play by Arthur Miller, and it's
Mhm.
called The Crucible, and he
Yeah.
wrote it as a sort of more than a nod, but as a cautionary tale about what was going on during the McCarthy era in our country. And
I probably know it better than most Americans.
you may well do. So in the play, there is a guy, he was a real guy. He was a farmer. His name was John Proctor. And John Proctor in real life was hanged as a witch.
Mm.
He was a good guy, and he got up there and he told the court, "You're crazy, this is ridiculous, what are you talking about, we're not witches." Anyway, at one point there's just mass hysteria that goes
Mm.
on, and he says, "We are as we always were, only naked now.
Mhm.
This is us in this moment right
Oh,
now.
it.
The good
Oh.
news is, yeah, we are as we always were, but we
Mhm.
can't pretend anymore about who we
Yeah.
are because
Yep.
we are naked now for the world and all of us to see. And
And
this is an
the
opportunity."
the Democrats not only have to man up, so to speak, or whatever, they have to own their part in getting where we got here because
Ab-
they played a big part. Not
Absolutely.
not necessarily just the individual, representatives, but as a party, they have gone along with a lot of this and you know not seen it, not fought it, voted for it.
Cultivated ignorance around it, around what was really going on. That
Yeah,
cultivated ignorance is what is going to have to be sacrificed.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Now I've got an interesting point for you to show you. And whenever you show me the key card, which came up with something,
Yeah.
and it's came up last week as well, and it's one of the nicer cards. I see it, especially because of the sacrifice part of it as well. I see it as Chiron in the chart.
Uh-huh.
The USA is having its Chiron return, and the second middle pass of the Chiron return is 3 days after the election.
Oh,
And it's in Aries, though, which is very much kind of pioneering spirit and new starts. So, I wonder if that might be because Chiron is retrograde coming back to where it was. And that often that retrograde pass in the middle, because we already had one exact Chiron return, April the 20th.
mhm,
And then November the 8th, then it doesn't actually finish till November the 8th, February the 18th, 2025.
mhm.
But the middle retrograde one is often the toughest, kind of the hardest lesson, and something has to be sacrificed. But Chiron is also the healer. He's kind of
True.
got that very much Christ consciousness energy, the key to healing, all those kind of terms. Um, that's going to be another that. Well, we know the election's going to be a big turning point. In my gut, I still think the Democrats are going to win, but they're going to have to fight like hell to kind of, you know.
Right. I mean, what Christians would say, faith without works is dead. I'm going to
Yes,
say hope without works. It's not going to get us anywhere.
not nowhere.
So
No.
we all have to vote. We all have to talk to
Hmm.
people, write letters, sign petitions, be in the streets.
Yeah,
We have to do because um, the democracy is on the line.
it is. So I'm just going to pull because I'm more comfortable with tarot for now because I've only just got Erica's deck. I just want to pull just a couple of cards on that Chiron return that's pretty, I mean, on the election, really. It's on it. And I don't know if you want to as well, just to see what it
I'm
says.
thinking about Chiron, right?
Hmm.
And how and the whole wounded healer concept and the idea that we all have Chiron in our chart, and
Hmm.
that a lot of times that wound, just as is the case for Chiron himself, is never, ever, ever healed. However, people, wherever your Chiron is, you can end up being the healer for other people in that particular area.
And that heals you by healing others because he actually gave up his immortality to heal Prometheus and thereby died from the wound that would not heal and became a constellation. So
So,
he was.
okay, so look, think about
Hmm.
this. We were the shining city on the hill,
Hmm.
all of those things. That that is what has to be sacrificed, healed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and if it is, I mean, this is to me, looking at the chart, this is an opportunity.
Oh yeah, very much so. And one thing that does give me a little bit of hope is that exactly opposite this Chiron is Juno, which she was actually the queen of the gods. She was Jupiter's wife, Hera, Jupiter, Juno, and she kind of is in Libra, which is a very much justice kind of sign. Who knows? Maybe it will be Kamala or a woman next. Who knows? Who knows?
Very interesting.
Hmm. But I just want to see just what a couple of cards say. We're not done yet, but it could be a good opportunity to really start something,
Right.
you know, which I do think that Joe, for all his faults, has done. But I think he has the ear, or people like Bernie Sanders and things have his ear. I think there was deals struck to have him
Yeah.
installed. Personally. So the first card I pulled around that Chiron return is actually the Eight of Pentacles, but reversed.
Reverse.
So yeah, so to my mind, that's not seeing the abundance that we actually have and not being grateful for what we have and not being grateful for what we are, but almost like thinking we're better, but not seeing the real wealth of it. Is
Mm-hmm.
that?
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Makes a lot
yeah,
of sense.
yeah. And then, but these cards actually give me hope. Then the Six of Pentacles,
Mhm.
which I always like the juggling of the pentacles and the holding them up. That's kind of starting to realize, you
And
know.
reciprocity. I mean,
Yes,
the opportunity to not be such a top down kind of
yes,
kind
yeah.
yeah.
Not trickle down anymore.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
that never did.
Never trick down. Yeah. Mhm.
And then here's the last one is the Five of Cups. Fives are always an interesting card because they're real kind of change, aren't they? But I love these light seas deck. This is fairly new for me.
I mean, I
But
think that that's an interesting card because I do
mhm,
think it's kind of what I was saying before. People will have to mourn the loss
yes,
country that they thought we
E-
were. We never were,
exactly.
but still, they have to mourn that loss in
Hmm.
order to move forward. Because
Uh-huh.
if they don't mourn it, it's
Yeah.
like death, right? If you don't
Yeah.
say goodbye or go to the funeral or whatever, you might say to yourself, I don't know, they might still be walking around. Maybe, I hear
Yeah.
at the door, is that them? So that five of cards is sort of an acknowledgement of,
Uh-huh.
what is over is over. Maybe it never
Yeah.
was, but even the idea of it it's just gone. So
And
that
time to let it go.
time
And
to let
and
go, right?
yeah. And that's very kind of trust and surrender as well. So, let it sink like that on.
Yep.
Yeah. So, the cards, again, not predictive, but I think there's the possibility. I think there is a huge opportunity on this election to really kind of realize that we have to change completely. And it's beyond the individuals really of Trump or Biden. It's the whole country's character, to be honest. So
Well,
yeah.
we went through this once with a civil war.
Hmm.
Hopefully it will not come to that.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah.
But there are civil wars and there are civil wars.
Hmm.
Um,
There
you know,
are. Yep, civil wars, and there can be peaceful splits
Mhm.
or the actual war or different everything could,
But as they say, the
again.
watchword of the hour, this is an inflection point,
Yeah,
unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime, I
I
suspect.
know, I know. Well, I think we've gone long enough for today, Erica, don't you? And I think
Yeah, yeah.
we'll be I'm sure there'll be a whole lot more to talk about if we come back and do this again
And I'm
next week.
delighted that people are in the comments,
Me
as long
too.
as
Me
they're,
too.
coming in the spirit of engagement and
Yes.
an honest inquiry. I think that's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah, and if there's anything you'd like us to look at, we are not going to look at whether Biden will drop out. We've decided not to look at that because it's really up to him, and that's all very clouded in confusion as well anyway. I don't think we'd get a clear answer.
No, we wouldn't.
Because of the time thing as well when you're doing this kind of work. So don't ask us to look at that, please. But if there is anything you notice that you would like us to have a look at, we'll talk about it and see if we think we can. And otherwise, I'll put Erica's links again in the description to her lovely cards in this lovely little tin. So quick. And the book as well is in my Amazon store, and check out her Substack too. So yeah, and come back next time.
Yeah, we'll be back next time.
Bye everybody.
Bye.